Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are talking about anime cards and Yu-Gi-Oh! We are right around the corner of 30 brand new cards coming from the anime to the actual physical card game. That's so hype for me. There's so many nostalgic cards we all can kind of relate in that because so many people who play the game now were people who watched the series way back when, and maybe even all the way throughout. Throughout Vrains and so forth. But really, really cool. I'm excited to talk about this. I put a community post out a couple of days ago. You guys did a phenomenal job answering that and just throwing out what anime cards you have nostalgia for that you would love to see printed. I have my own list. I put it on that community post, but I'll go a little bit more in depth when we get to these on the list I have here today. But we're going to talk about all the biggest options, at least from what we're talking about. Here and obviously there'll be some missing, so if there's anything missing that you didn't see in this video, let me know in the comment section down below what you think could make sense or just something you want to see, because it does seem somewhat of a crapshoot every year. But we'll have to see where it ends up. Anyway, last things before we get into it. This is, you have to keep in mind, whenever it comes to anime cards, Konami never really translates anime cards one for one directly to the card game. So whether it's making a card better because it's like a poopy anime card for like a very specific scenario, or it's making a card worse because it's so generically crazy in the anime, they're gonna have to edit these cards somewhat, so you have to keep that in mind. And I broke this up into three different categories. One is just brand new archetypes that we don't really have as functional archetypes in the game, support for archetypes that already exist, and of course random cards that we've just never really had here. So let's get into this thing. We got a lot to get through. Starting off here, and we're in chronological order, by the way, for each of these categories. So we're going to start in Duel Monsters Yu-Gi-Oh! DM. Starting off with Orichalcos. I know there's some missing Orichalcos cards from the anime. Not that we don't have some cards from them, but it's not really a functional archetype. So that would be cool to see. They have cool designs on them. The Seal of Orichalcos has a special place in a lot of players' hearts. And it'd be nice to see it like actually like be fulfilled into an actual playable archetype. That'd just be cool to see. Next up here, we have the armor archetype. This is played in the same arc. There is an interesting question on this where if like, I know it's technically from the anime, not the manga, so it should still work for Animation Chronicle, but do you potentially look at these and say, does Konami want to like not love these archetypes because they're not from the original source material? They are, filler basically. I wonder if that has a part in this, and so that's why they've taken so long to kind of get these into the game. But people really like this one. People bring up Valor all the time in videos anytime I talk about this kind of topic, so that's interesting to note. Next up, we move to GX. We have the White Knight cards. These cards are, I guess, supposed to work with like the Light and Darkness Dragon when Chaz gets turned evil by Sartorius and stuff, and he's doing his thing. I remember these cards. I do have nostalgia for these cards. I always thought they looked sick, but they never got printed. So I don't know. Could they just kind of try and build this into an actual Light and Darkness archetype? Whereas right now, those are kind of like more so generic cards. That could be something cool here if those cards could help facilitate that. Next up, you have the Darkness archetype from GX. This one I think is past the time I watched the show, so I don't really remember this one. I think this card exists, but I guess there are other cards that don't exist that are from this archetype. I don't know enough about it, but the Darkness archetype is one I saw a couple comments on, so shout out to you. Hopefully, if this is yours, it gets printed. Next up, we have Bonaparte's toy archetype. This is another cool one to me. I always liked the aesthetic of this archetype, and I know we got Toy Soldier and Toy Box last year, I guess, at some point. It works with White Forest, so there are some archetypes that it has good synergy with. But those are separate entities to me, right? Bonaparte has his own toy archetype. I'd love to see them like go all in and actually make like a cool either engine or archetype similar to the other ones, but see where they actually end up there. That'd be really, really cool to see. Next up, we move to, is this Z? I think this is Zexel. This is the New Order archetype. They have some cool monster designs. I like this one's design. There's a couple other ones they just kind of look like celestial, spatial animals kind of thing, futuristic animals. They're cool. I don't know enough about them, but I had multiple people mention the New Order archetype. That would be one that definitely I wouldn't be too shocked to see. Next up, we have the CCC archetype. This is kind of like an equivalent, I guess, to DDD. Again, did not watch this far into the anime, so I do not really know the gist of this. I will say these monsters look terrible. They all just look like a pile of rocks, kind of formed into weird shapes. There are weapons that look like they're made of rocks. They just don't really look like much. Maybe they're cooler than I'm giving them credit for, but because I don't know how the archetype works and stuff. But you know, I have not been in too much in love with just at least the aesthetic design of them. Anyway, we move to Beast Borgs. These guys are cool, right? Turning something like Panther Warrior into like a modern, like a cyborg version is a cool idea. I like that idea a lot. I don't know how fleshed out it is, or if it'd be like 3 cards and then done, but that's a cool idea to me. Then we have Thorn Prisoner, also from Arc V. I mean, these are some of the worst looking monsters I've seen, but some people mentioned them. Also, this card is terrifying. This girl's just strapped to a wheel, going round and round with nails in it. Very, very horror-y looking, designs here. But some people like them. If they're playable, then I think they're interesting. And at some point, I do want every anime card to get printed, but this wouldn't be my first pick. We'll say that. All right, then we move to Vrains. Vrains is a big one. There are so many Vrains archetypes that are crazy, and so it's important to note as we get into it. So first off, you have to talk about the biggest one, Armatos Legion. This is one of the 3 things I had on my list, and I know some people complain about Judgment Arrows and how that is a card that like doesn't really work with modern day Yu-Gi-Oh. Just make it a continuous spell and adjust the effects so that it actually works with modern day Yu-Gi-Oh. I would have no problem with that. I feel like most players would not have a problem with that. I don't feel like most people are in love with Armatos Legio because of Judgment Arrows and the exact way that it works. They love it because the aesthetic design of the monsters is really cool. The idea of an archetype that's all about like where they're placed on the board is almost like chess and like how a lot of times military tactics can work, and where they're placed can give you different advantages. I love the idea of that with links and arrows and stuff, but I don't think Judgment Arrows is like the biggest crux here. They can easily change that card to not be the total crux of the archetype, but still make the archetype really cool design wise, really cool the way it plays. And this has been the most asked for archetype for years now. Seriously. So I hope this is in. I like them a lot too. I think there's some really cool potential there. I cannot believe they waited this long, to be honest. Next up is Storm Rider. This is another one of the Ignis archetypes, right? This is the wind one. They have some crazy cards. They had like a crazy hand trap, which could work something like a Subterra Fiendus. But yeah, it's the wind one. G Golem got printed. Why can't we see Storm Rider? I don't get it. Next up, you have Hydra Drive. This, I believe, is one of the antagonist archetypes. Cool archetype that plays a lot of Link 1s based on the attribute of the Hydra Drive monster you're using for it. There's some cool potential here for sure. I just don't know exactly how they'd adjust the cards to meet like modern day standards. But this is one that I do expect to get as well at some point. You have the drone archetype, and this one probably closes out the like main archetypes from like pretty relevant characters in the show. The designs on these cards are pretty boring aesthetically, but other than that, like a lot of people do like this character, Blood Shepherd, so that's a cool one. Next up, we move to Alchemy Beasts. These are cool cards. I do like the designs on these, to be honest. Like the Metal Dragon, I don't even know their names, but like the whatever you call this, it's like the penny colored, the bronze snake, and then this guy. Like they have some cool cards. I like the designs for them. I don't know how in depth they are in the anime, but that's a cool one, I would say. Topologina, however you pronounce it. They have some cool designs, honestly. Looking at these, I did not really know that much about them, but when I saw their designs, I was like, they kind of look cool. I don't know how tied in they are to Topologic itself, or if they're entirely different. I just don't know. But these cards are cool enough. I wouldn't be mad if we saw like a full Topologina archetype. And then the last one here for Vrains and the archetypes in general is Dark Mummy. These characters just straight up have needles for legs. It's truly terrifying. I hope they float so that they don't just have to walk on those in the dirt and then still try to stab people with them. But yeah, cool. Honestly, the boss monster too. It's a Link archetype too, so like it has some cool stuff. I don't know how they work, but I hope they're decent. I wouldn't be too mad at this one either. At first, I was like, Dark Mummy, what is that? And then I saw him and I was like, this could work. I don't know. Maybe it's cool. Maybe just be good zombie support. Maybe there's just like a good zombie Link engine. Who knows? Okay, so that's it for the archetypes. Moving on to decks that already exist that would get crazy, like not crazy, but like nice support from from anime stuff. The first one for me is Magnum Warriors. You guys know how I feel about Magnum Warriors. I feel like I talk about them all the time, but I'm not stopping today. I love this archetype. Bastion Masawa, when in maybe the second season of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, uses Magnet Warriors, and he shows off like 3 or 4 new Magnet Warrior monsters. He shows off like a spell or a trap or something. Like he shows off 4 or 5 cards, and I can't believe we've never got these printed. Now I know in the anime these have like a weird like plus minus thing going on where like only monsters with opposite attractions can battle. Otherwise they repel each other and they can't battle. Go away from that mechanic entirely. Just make these awesome Magnet Warrior support cards, and I think nobody will care. And in fact, it's almost certainly going to be preferred by almost across the board. So these are cool. I love the designs. This guy looks cool. The other 2 or 3 monsters look cool as well. I would love, love, love to see that direction for them. Ninjas. Ninjas are my third one, my third pick for stuff I'd love to see from Animation Chronicle this year, and honestly any year, just sooner than later. Um, yeah, this is so cool. So the cool thing about ninjas is that there's not like one character from one Yu-Gi-Oh anime that plays ninjas. There's like it almost feels like there's a character in almost every season of the anime, whether it's DM, GX, 5Ds. It feels like there is a character in almost every series of the anime that does play ninjas. And so you end up with just so many different ninja cards. I know for a fact we don't have all of them. We don't have the Shogun guy. I think that Jean-Claude played in DM. We're missing, I think, this yellow guy in the middle here. He, I believe, just has an effect in the anime where he just summons a ninja from deck. That'd be crazy with Hanzo, obviously. And there's probably more into later seasons of the anime as well, where a ninja card was shown and never printed. So I love ninjas. I feel like ninjas are actually just in a good spot with the support they got a couple of years ago, but they've already been like, even with that support, they still felt like they were lagging behind. 2 or 3 cards could be the difference here if they are good cards. So I'd love to see it. I love ninjas, and everybody, like not everybody, but so many players love ninjas. So I think this would be a banger. All right, moving on for more support. Why don't we can zoom through these? Valkyries. So Leon's cards, apparently still missing a couple of his Valkyrie cards. Cool, give him some support. I don't personally care about him, but some people do, so go ahead. That's cool. Heraldic Beast is a really interesting one, specifically because what happened last year? Well, we got a Gimmick Puppet card that was really good in Animation Chronicle right around the time we got Gimmick Puppet support in a core set. Ancient Gear. We got a new Ancient Gear card in Animation Chronicle that was really good right around the time Ancient Gear was getting main deck or core set support. So again, Heraldic Beast in Alliance Insight could see 1 or 2 cards here that actually help bolster them even further. So I would not be shocked at this one whatsoever. And apparently they're missing some cards still. Blackwing. So apparently Blackwings in Arc V are played by somebody. This heinous looking creature was played in that version of it. He's so dopey looking. It's incredible. And sure, I like Blackwings. Cool. We're missing more Blackwing cards, and there's good ones out there. Go ahead and give it to them. I don't care. I like it. Same thing with Ancient Gear. So apparently they're played in Arc V as well. Probably not by Crowley, but I don't know. And they're missing cards from them as well. A couple of these like twin-headed guys. I think this guy exists in the card game right now, but I don't think these guys do, or at least not all of them. So there's definitely more cards that can be added to make Ancient Warrior or Ancient Gear even better. Now I move to this. This is DDDs. DDDs are just, doing their thing. Apparently we're still missing cards. I mean, we got a couple cards in premium pack at the end of the year in 2024. I wouldn't be surprised if they pair that with a couple more cards here as well if we're still missing DDD cards. They're cool. A lot of people do seem to like them, so that's fine. Perform Ages, right? This is Perform Age. Yeah, Perform Ages. I don't know how likely this one specifically is, just because they had like a bunch of Perform Age cards in last year's Animation Chronicle. So I don't know if they would like double down and just keep pushing them out. I don't know how much they're missing in terms of like actual playable, like good cards, but apparently they're still missing cards. So we'll see. Phantom Knights are a super interesting one. Phantom Knights are the kind of one where it's like even one card, if it was really solid, could skyrocket Phantom Knights to like competitively viable again. I mean, Orcus is viable. There's synergy there. Obviously, other level 3 based cards that work with the archetype obviously exist. And they're very graveyard centric, so they have good synergy with just stuff that gets stuff sent to grave. So this one's cool. I don't know what they're missing, but like PK is an interesting one because there's PK does still have a really solid core of cards to work with. So I'd be curious to see what they get out of that. Code breakers. I don't know what code breakers are missing. I really don't know what they have other than the main deck guy that already exists and the Link 3 that already exists. I really do not. Oh no, I'm sorry. Isn't it like a Link 2, a Link 3, and an extra deck monster? Or in a main deck monster, I mean. So I don't know what they're missing other than those three. I'm sure there's something. I don't know how many, but like some people mentioned it, so figured I'd throw it out there. G Golem. G Golem Adagnister does not have all of his cards. He has a cool base as well, like a couple of cards that are interesting, but it's not enough to be a full-on archetype, and none of them are generically powerful enough to see play in like just Cyber Scud decks. So I'd like to see this deck actually culminate in like an actual playable strategy at some point. That'd be cool. Trickstars. Trickstars are missing a couple of cards. I looked through it. I don't know if it's literally all the cards they're missing, but they're missing a couple of main deck monsters, couple or maybe one main deck monster, a couple of spells, and then a bunch of traps. But the traps seem terrible. When I read what they did in the anime, I was like, these cards are terrible. They would really have to like give these cards the physical card game bump to make those cards so much better. This card, actually, this monster was the only one that I thought was interesting. It was like if your opponent adds a card from deck to hand, it summons itself and then draws you a card and burns your opponent for a little bit of damage. That to me was like kind of a pretty interesting going second card. It's kind of like worse Phantasme, but like it's still a Trickstar name, so could be worth it. I don't know. Interesting. And then we move to the final stuff here. That's it for all the support cards that we talked about in that community poll. Lastly, we're going to finish up on just some random stuff. So Maiden in Love is a card played in one episode. Somebody was shouting out. I remembered the reason I put it on here. I didn't put everything on here, but I put ones that looked cool, sounded cool, or I remembered specifically. And I do remember Maiden in Love. I want to say that's the episode where like this girl like starts stealing Jaden's elemental heroes because they're falling in love with her monster, this girl, and it's kind of funny, but it's cool. This fire dragon, which I'm not even sure Bastion ever actually summons in the anime, or if it was just in the opening from GX that this card was in. But obviously, we know water dragon and like the bonding H2O stuff from Bastion, but we never actually, I don't know if we ever actually saw the fire dragon. Maybe we did, and I just don't remember it. But uh, this one would be really cool to see. Like bonding H2O already has like some engine cards going on, doesn't actually have like a win condition, it feels like, for modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! But it would be really cool to see them try and actually round it out with like give them another side of that deck where they're able to summon Fire Dragon and maybe actually have like a legit coherent like win condition for modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! That'd be really cool. These cards are really cool. I think these are like the Beetleborg or Beatron something. It's like a bunch of these little like mechanical insects, and then they combine to make this fusion. They basically, from what I remember, it seemed like they kind of contact fused together to kind of make this card. Cool idea. They'd have to make it do more because I think it was just a beater basically in the anime, but I like the design of it, and I think that'd be cool. This guy is sweet. His design is awesome. Honestly, this doesn't even look like a Yu-Gi-Oh artwork to me. But this guy, apparently, his name is Scab Scar Knight. I don't remember what he's from in the anime. When I saw the design for him, I said, "That's sick. I'll throw him in. Why not?" And then I think lastly here we finish up with oh man, what's the name of this? Like not Nibelon, but something like that. Nibelungs, something like that. But this card's crazy. In the anime, apparently this card draws 5 cards. I don't remember it, but that's insane. Obviously, they can't print it to do the same thing. They'd probably give you a bunch of hoops you'd have to jump through to ever resolve an effect like that. But whatever, it's still fun. I like the idea. We'll add it in there. But yeah, that's pretty much everything from I mean, I might have missed some small stuff here or there, but like that's most of the stuff we looked at. You guys know my 3 things: Magnet Warriors, Ninjas, and Armatos Legio. If we only get one of those, I'd still be stoked, and as long as it's like executed well, right? I don't want the Magnet Warrior cards to just be their own thing and not work with Magnet Warriors, or I don't want Ninja cards that are vanillas and suck, or I don't want Armatos Legio to get printed if it's just going to be like a nothing archetype that has no potential whatsoever. So it's all about execution at the end of the day. But there's a lot of good stuff, man. We still have a lot of good options Konami can mess around with. So I'm very excited to see what we get. I think if we do get the set announced, it probably will get announced like next week at some point. That's about the same time we got announced last year. And You know, I don't know if they released like a cover art for it, because I remember when they released cover art for it, they gave us some good hints. Because last year when they released the cover art, we were like, oh, Allure Queens are going to be in this set and Perform Mages. And I can't remember what the other thing on the cover was, but they'll give us some good information with what's on the set if it's revealed before we actually get those cards revealed. So I'm very excited. There's so much potential here. There's a lot of cool stuff we can get, and I can't wait to go over it with you guys as soon as they are revealed. So there you go. That's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything we missed here? Is there anything else from the anime that you think should have been on this list that wasn't? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, as well as just what you're most excited for. Throw it down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're thinking there. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, I will see you in the next video. Peace.